things in life. It's when a boy finds the girl he loves.
Hey everybody, welcome to Beyond the Romance podcast. I'm Ange.
I'm there.
And thank you for tuning in this week. Sorry we missed you guys last week. Technical difficulties. We're planning for a wedding and just had a lot going on. No excuses. We keep learning lessons throughout the time, and now we learned that we can batch record and figure it out that way. So we'll keep coming. We also wanted to try out new dates and times, so you guys will see that this is coming out on a Friday. And we'll see if you guys like that way. Give you guys the whole weekend to watch. But yeah, let us know in the comments if you guys like the new date and time, and what else you guys have in store for us.
Right.
We also included a new drink segment. We figured, we like a little cocktail, so we had, we made a little, I don't know what you call it, I guess a mango strawberry margarita, and Devin said he liked it earlier. I did put a little spice in it, so he's not a fan of that part, but
just a little kick at the end. But the drink itself is good to go.
So I hope you guys like that segment too. We're gonna start adding them in as little videos into our episodes. But let's get right into this week's episode. We're gonna be talking about how we get through our disagreements, and how that looks like for us. You want to start off?
So pretty much like with disagreements for us, I feel like that's it'd be kind of tough for a couple of reasons. Like the first thing is like we our approach is really different. Like for me, like I'm really argumentative. Like I'm really like, for people that know me, I like to debate a lot. Like I like to be right. So it's like I'm gonna talk, and I just like to talk through things. Whereas Angie is more like, it is what it is. Like we had a disagreement, we good now. Like it ain't no reason to talk about it. Like so that was, I feel like for some years like a big deal. Like I always was like, come on, let's discuss this. Like let's talk about what's going on. And it was kind of like, why? Like it's okay now, So I feel like that was a big thing. And it's like, too, since we don't argue that much, I think like when we do argue, I feel like it's always like looked at like here like a big deal, because it's like it's so few and far between that I think it's like, oh my God, now we arguing. Like, oh snap, everything is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, but I feel like we worked through that over. Like, I feel like we done found different ways to go, like, kind of cope with that. Like, I feel like we both done bend it on some. Like, how do you feel you bend it as far as like kind of shaping like from how you were when we were younger with your attitude towards like whatever it is, like versus like now, like as a.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like caring about how you feel and how you want to be heard and loved, and that's kind of like a big ego. Like it was a big, like, I wouldn't say ego, it's more like a big, I don't know, it's a big shock to the system when you have to tell yourself like, yeah, I'm loving you and I'm doing all this, why is that not enough? But more so you just have to look at it as like, this is the way that he is able to, that he wants to receive the love. And so I had to take a step back and look at how is he continuously is asking for a certain type of communication, a certain type, because like he said, I'd just be like, come on now, like we'll talk about this later, or like it's not that big of a deal, like why are we harping on this? But it was a big deal for him. So I kind of just had to have that mindset of like, it's no like shot at the way I'm loving you already. Is more so just a way that, this will help us grow in the long run. So I had to just take a step back and realize what is it that you're really asking for, and how you want to be communicated with and stuff like that. What about for you? Like, do you think it was like the way that I like things, how was that like changed for you and way that you were able to grow?
For me, like the growth, like my biggest thing is just like the way, like I said, like my approach to it is like very like, hey, look, like it's very like, let's like argumentative. Like it's like coming more of at it from like not like a sports debate, but like we're in a relationship, like we gotta talk things through. Like my tone, like I come from a loud family, like we yell, like my mom, my grandpa.
That was a big one for me.
Yeah, like we just loud, so it's like I'm loud on a normal basis. So like in an argument, I get to yelling and stuff like that, and she just was like, I feel like you didn't really know like how to respond to that, and I feel like that kind of led to a lot of it. Like, oh, let's just go past it. And for me, it used to be like how, like, do she really care about like what we go, like the problems that we have, and then realistically, I had to just really think like, we not the same person.
Mm-hmm.
So like just because you wasn't reacting to things the same way as me, like that didn't mean you didn't care as much, or that didn't mean that you wasn't willing to try to fix it. So like that was something like a hurdle I used to have to get over, like because I'm showing more passion, let's say within an argument, that it's like, oh, I care more. So it's like she not caring as much about what's going on, like she not putting as much in, and that was like total BS. Like so once I got past that and started like really thinking like, okay, like just because we look at things different, I feel like that helped us in a lot of different areas. Just understanding like the differences in our views and like how we was brought up, the people we was around.
Yeah.
All of that is impactful. Like to me, it's like if we not both going back and forth and saying something, it's like you not engaged. But it's like that's not at all. Like Angie processed stuff differently. Like she like a lot of times like she listened to things I say. Like in the moment I might have yelled it and she might act like she's not hearing me, but like she'll come back later and be like, okay, I did hear you when you said this, this, and that. And for me, once I had to sit back and start looking at that, like I really started appreciating that, because like for me, it's like when I get to yelling or get to fussing or get in debate, it's like, oh, here Dev goes. So like I kind of feel like a lot of times I get dismissed, even if I be right on certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But like you really take the time to like decipher through like the tone and the trying to be right parts to see like what parts I'm right, and you can still call me on when I'm wrong at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
while also still. So it's like I'm like, okay, if she doing all of that, like I gotta be able to like fix things. Like, and it's not perfect. Like, you know, I still, if we get to a big argument, it's like, you know, still fuss, but it's like understanding like yelling just ain't solving things. Like it's not helpful.
Yeah, and I think the big key is understanding what your partner is saying. Like it may not be. Yes, they maybe have reacted, like for us, he'll react right on the dot. And he may, you know, say something that maybe he didn't exactly mean, in that maybe he wasn't able to think that whole thought through of how he wanted to word it. Instead of me jumping down his neck, that I really had to learn this part of like not listening to the exact word, every single exact word that you're saying, more so like the overall picture. You have to remember that it's not like us against each other. We're trying to figure out like it's us as a team. We're disagreeing right now. We're not working right now. How do we fix it?
Right.
And I think that's a big thing that I still work on that, because it's easier to just be like, well, you said this, this, and this, but you have to really remember that it's you guys together, and you guys had, you know, teams, they don't always work every time, but like you figure out a way for it to work. And I think that's like the biggest key for it.
And it's like too, like you said, like not harping on individual words, but also even with that still being like careful in the language that you use and the words you use. Like the tone might be loud, but the word is never super disrespectful on either side, or like
it shouldn't be like you B word, like it's no cussing. Yeah, that's a good catch, because I don't want it to be straight that it's like it shouldn't be just disrespectful to each other.
The worst it might get is like an MFer, but that's just my word. Like I use that in a lot of just my normal talk. But like as far as like, oh, well, you ain't this and that, or oh, well, you don't do, like it's no like point where it's like we trying to hurt each other's feelings.
Right. So
it's like whenever we do argue and we come back, it's like we get straight to the meat. I think I studied this on like one of the first episodes, but like that's super important. Like I feel like a lot of times when couples argue, it's like, oh, well, you a B word, oh, you this and that, oh, you ain't doing this with your life, and this and like in your life and your family is this. Yeah. Now it's like we got to come back and unpack all of these other things that you just said out of the heat of anger.
Right.
And now we done went through 5 steps and like, okay, we good, and we never even talked about the problem. So it's like, and talking about the problem is always big, because it's like growing up, you see the relationships, it's like people go through problems and they keep going through them because they just kind of push it to the side.
Right.
So it's like for us early on, I feel like that was happening. Like things would come up and then they would reoccur. Yeah. And it's like I would be mad because it's like didn't that just happen? Like why we didn't, like it's happening again, but we never worked through it. So it's like how was we ever gonna like grow from it, or you know? So that's why that was always like super key.
Yeah, that's a good one, because I think the thing that people forget is even if you push it to the side now, it will always keep following you. For sure. It doesn't matter even if it's not about the same argument that you had, that it'll pile up. and once the person explodes, or both of you guys explode on whatever, it could have just been like, you didn't leave the toilet paper, like put new toilet paper on. Well, now it didn't turn into this whole big explosion because you guys didn't talk about any of the other stuff before. So you definitely have to focus on getting to the meat of the problem, and it's not comfortable all the time. Anytime it's not comfortable to have an argument or disagreement, but it's good that you invest that time into each other to talk about it.
And like really studying each other. Like I know for a fact, like it be things that Angie want me to do around the house. Like let's say if I forget to change the like let's say if I'm not working, taking a break, and I could change the load, she asked me to change the loads and I forget. She'd be like, "Oh, babe, you forgot to change the load." But if it's like, "Hey, you forgot to," and she really upset, it's like that's where you got to click in and know like this is not normal. It got to be something else going on. So like what's going, like let's talk about what you feeling, because why did you just snap on me about the laundry? That's not our normal get down, you know? So it's like people kind of just look up, oh, she just tripping today. Or, no, like what's going on? Like, because you have to be invested in continuing to grow and to work through even the smallest problems. Like you said, too many small problems become one big problem that can lead to drastic things. Yeah. So it's like you got to be able to understand your partner, know what they feeling, know it's like it got to be more here. Like what is it?
That actually, and this was not part of our podcast episode today, but you saying that just kind of reminded me, because it's been a topic that's been going on TikTok, is it may not even be an argument about, like, it doesn't even have to be an argument about anything, just about like sometimes one partner takes on more of a mental load that's going around. Have you been seeing that on TikTok? Mm-hmm. Mental load. And it's like the things that have to get done that are not like, that are like an everyday thing on one partner's mind. Right. Usually it falls more on the woman of like, oh, there's only one towel in the thing, like we need to make sure that we have some more towels, we need to make sure we're running low on wipes, diapers, things like that. It all falls on one person. So I think that the good thing that works for us is that we don't have like one or the other, like that it falls on. So that mental load piece of that can really cause, I think, issues in people's relationship, is being like either the default parent or that whole mental load falls onto one another. So that just kind of reminded me when you were talking about the laundry stuff. But
that's a good point though, because I mean I feel like that's something we dealt with like like not too long ago, because like for me I felt like as far as like parenting go, I feel like we kill it. We do our best. Like we raising two great little boys, and I do what I can. Like, you know, I help out a lot on that aspect. So I was looking at it like I'm doing my part. Right. But then we had the discussion about like, what are you doing around the house? Like, it's not just like, because she's also doing her part as a parent. It's not like I'm a full-time parent and she's just taking care of the house stuff and like that's just what we do. Like we raise our kids together. If I'm
both full-time workers.
So it's like, where is her break if she worried about the kids, she worried about work, and she worried about keeping the house intact, cooking, cleaning, and doing all of that, while I got kids and work? Well, now I got the open time while she doing all this other stuff. So like that was like a big like, oh snap, like I'm not doing all that I can in our relationship. Like I felt like I was doing great. Like, you know, I'm getting up, taking the kids to school every day, doing bath time, changing as many diapers as I can, like hanging out with them, like cool.
All of them. All the diapers.
I don't want to say it, but most of the diapers, you know what I mean? But I was looking at that like, oh, I'm knocking it out the park. But she made me realize like it's all just as important. Like all of that, it leads to a healthy relationship. Making sure, you know, we take our weekly dates. Like every Wednesday, we go to breakfast, like before she got to log on.
Shout out to Monica's.
Oh, y'all got to go to Monica's Cafe. But no, what is it? Monica's
Riverview. Yeah, something like that.
We go there every Wednesday just to get some time away from the house, just to, like, you know, you so much with work, so much with the kids. It's like just time for us to kind of connect and like we hang out all the time at home and watch TV, but it's like it's something about being outside to just figure out like what's going on in your day, like how work been, how your business going, just how different things. So it's like all of that, cleaning, individual time, taking care of the kids. You can't just harp in on one aspect and think you just killing it. It's a full process. So like that's a big topic.
And it's funny because that's not something that you're like taught, I think. Like, well, at least for me, like I wasn't taught to, like my parents did all the laundry for us, but like I didn't take note of like until I got older, like who did what or different things like that. Like it's not something that you're taught in a relationship, or we kind of just had to like figure that out, and so we hit our head on the wall a lot of times with that in the beginning. More so when we had the kids, because like before the kids, it was like we were, you know, living free. It didn't matter if the dishes piled up, you just do it later. You know, we were living the college life. But I think like when you have the kids, it really puts like that big lens on all the things that really have to get done, because we don't just have to worry about our laundry. Now it's like the kids better have their clothes nice and clean for the whole week. They need to have sheets for the school, right? They need to have the bottles for the school, enough diapers. It's just a lot more than just being a good parent, like physically and emotionally for them. It's more so like all the extra stuff that you don't think about, or that's not harped on as much.
And especially like for me, like growing up, like I was raised with like my mom, me and my sister, so it was all women, and then my granny and pawpaw. But all I've ever been around is like women that do like, it's like, oh, well, we gonna cook for you, like, oh, we gonna do this, like my granny every day.
Spoiled, rotten.
Spoiled, like to the point where like if my mom didn't feel like cooking, she would get on my little sister like, you didn't make dinner for you and your brother, like what's going, like I didn't really have to take care, like worry about them type of responsibilities. And like my granny and pawpaw, like my granny cooked every day. My pawpaw went to work, but my granny also went to work, but it was just like kind of like an old school more mindset. So it's like growing up in that and then coming to somebody that's like, no, well, we not doing that. Like we need to both be putting in. It's like, okay, like that's where it come in of like the compromise. Cause like I was like, okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? She gonna be cooking. She gonna be doing this and that. Like my papa used to just lay up on the couch and just watch the games. I'm like, cool. But I understand like why, like into like that's not the way that things go. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that was definitely a big like, come on, Devin, you got to get with it.
And it could be that for some people's households. I think some people, that's another thing on TikTok will show you all people's different perspectives. Like I just am baffled by some stuff, but it's the way people do things, and it works for them. But so it may be that you guys, you're in your household, it works that you cook, clean, and do everything for your partner. That's just not the way that it works for us. We kind of had these conversations. We had to have these conversations of like, I don't plan to be a stay-at-home mom, or even like a do everything type mom. Like I need your help basically. And luckily he was like, okay, like that's fine. We'll have to figure it out. It doesn't always work in everybody's relationship, but for us, I think it's definitely worked. I think like his granny probably is not happy that I cook every day. We're good for a good takeout, but you know, different times and things work for different people. So I just wanted you guys to remember that even if your relationship doesn't look like ours, it doesn't mean that it's wrong either.
Yeah, nothing we saying ever in this pod is ever like, this is the way we do it, so this is the way it should be done. Right.
I just want to make that clear for sure.
It's no one way to do nothing, especially love. Like everybody, like it's certain couples, like if they operated the same way as us, they would break up in a week because it's just it just don't work for them, or like they just can't process it. And same for us. Like if we adopted another couple that's doing great and took everything that they did, it wouldn't work for us, and it'd probably kill what we got. Everybody got their own special thing. We just telling y'all our point of view, like how we do what we do.
Right. Exactly. Did you have anything else to say on our disagreements and how else because I think last week we talked about the parenting disagreements, so this week was more so just on our relationship. I can't think of
another part of it too is like not being like, we remember we was talking about like not being petty in the arguments. As far as like, so in our house we have like Angie has her office area, and then we got like our two little living rooms, and I got my sports room. So when we get in arguments, it's like we have like designated like unspoken areas in the house. So it's like if we both super mad and let's say if the kid's not here and we arguing, it's like, okay, well either I'm going to my sports room and watch TV, or I'm going to the backyard and watch TV. They're my two spots. I need to go there to clear my mind. And Angie Love, we got a living room here with sectional. That's her spot. She go in there, post up, watch her TikToks or do whatever, and do what she got to do. But it's never a time where it's like, I'm finna be in here, I'm finna throw her stuff, I'm finna go in, and it's like, go to your corner. take your time. It's like if you start getting too heated, we know what to do, and then when we ready to talk, we come back. It's never like, oh, I'm finna make her mad. Like, I'm finna try to do like none of that like intentional pettiness.
I just actually, when you were saying the pettiness, I was going like this, but when you were talking about like the throwing the clothes, I'm like, oh no, like that's giving toxic. That's not petty.
Yeah.
Now that'll be something I can say is toxic if you're doing that at home. The throwing the clothes and all that stuff. No. But definitely remembering that, like, it goes back to what we were saying earlier. You guys are a team. Now, unless you guys don't want to be on that team anymore, it shouldn't be anything other than, don't talk to me for a minute. We'll figure it out, and we're going to come back and have our conversation when we're ready. But it doesn't have to be anything further than that. And then also the other point when you were saying about if the kids aren't around, we try not to argue when the kids are around. That's just like personal preference. I don't like arguing in front of the kids. I don't think that that's they should have to deal with anything like that. So we try not to argue in front of them. If we are in an argument, the kids won't know. And they just think, we're just doing our same old thing and hanging out. So I think it's a really big piece, so that the kids, because I think that type of stuff weighs on I know that type of stuff weighs on the kids. So it's like, why they weren't asking to be in the situation. So if we're in an argument, don't bring them in it. It's simple as that.
And people think kids don't be picking up on stuff or know what's going on. Kids are way smarter than most people give them credit for. Yeah. Like, I mean, I work with youth, so like they come to school talking about the different things their parents went through, or like the different arguments, or the different like tension that they could feel in the house. Like, these kids know way more, and they see, and you as their parents are their idols. They're looking at everything you do, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. So it's like they're studying you. Like, just the way you studying them to be the best parent, they're studying everything you do. So like, if I start getting loud, Devin be looking like, Daddy okay? Like, Angie be like, babe, the kid, you gotta cut it. Like, whatever it is. Yeah. And it's like nothing we go through is like serious enough where it's like, I don't give a damn. Like, we gotta do this right now. No, we don't. We could do this later. The kid's gonna sleep at 8:30. Whatever time we'll talk to him, we'll talk at 9. Like, it's not that serious.
It's funny because, and I don't know, my dad probably get on me for telling this story, but it just reminds me of when I was little, my dad used to smoke cigarettes, and he would climb out of the window onto the roof in our Daly City house, because he didn't want the kids to see him smoke. But like, I would see him climb out. I wouldn't see him smoke, but I would see him climb out of the window. And after, when I was able to talk, my mom said, I said, Daddy go moke? Daddy go moke? Like, kids pick up on everything. So it's like, you can't do that type of stuff in front of them. But yeah, that was that.
I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, for me, like, also, I mean, well, lastly, knowing at the end of the day, like you said, if it's something you invested in and it's like you not ready to leave the relationship, what's the point of keeping this argument going? Like, it's nothing that I'm doing. I'm not leaving her. She's not leaving me. We're in this together. We locked in. So it's like, there's no argument.
Ain't no switching up.
Right. You feel me? Like, it's nothing that could go on here that's like on our day-to-day life that would mess this up. So it's like, am I really that mad that she didn't put the toothpaste top back on the toothpaste? Like, am I
Patty? It's you that does that. It is you. We've been having this debate for the past like 2 or 3 weeks of who leaves the toothpaste top off. It's him. I literally have kept tabs on it.
I come to get the toothpaste and the top don't be on, and I'd be like, baby, let the top off. It must have been you. I ain't even brushed my teeth yet. How was it me?
Because it was you from the day before. I'm not putting it back on if you already took it off.
Oh, so she just admitted she don't put it back on.
No, you...
Clip it!
No. Yeah. I said you took it off. Yeah, clip. I'm going to clip it because I said you take it off. You forgot to put it on. I'm not putting it back on if you already took it off. You need to come back and do it.
So in your scenario, you making an already bad problem worse.
No, I'm not, because I just kept it off. I sure got my toothpaste out of there. Anyways, y'all, let's hop into the hot topic for this week. Like we said before, hot topics are things that are going on in the world right now, or things that are like I think we did a couple hot topics kind of in this episode, but the one that we're going to focus on this week is, what was it again?
So for this week, we were talking about our thoughts on the term like dating to marry.
Oh, yeah, dating to marry. Let us know in the comments what your guys' thoughts on this are. I think Devin and I agree on most of this topic, most likely, but who knows? We didn't agree last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever, on the Kiki Palmer situation. But this week, I think we'll agree.
Okay.
I think dating to marry is not healthy for a relationship. I think it's okay to understand that you're in a place that you're fully healthy and happy mentally, physically with where you're at in life, to know that if I were to get married,
Right.
I would be good because you did that work within yourself. But I don't think that you should look at every person that you're coming in contact with as, will they be my husband? Like, I think it should be more so of, we literally go through the process. You guys go out on some dates. You figure each other out. You learn each other. And then if some red flags come up, either work through them if you want to spend that time or don't.
Right.
But it doesn't have to be a battle of, when will I get married? Is this person going to marry me right off the bat?
Right.
What do you think?
And I mean, obviously for us, like, we've been together since high school, so
Right.
like I know people gonna listen to this and be like, well, easy for y'all to say, like,
Yeah.
but this is just like our opinion on the topic. Like, just knowing a lot of my friends that are single, it's like, I just feel like it put a lot of pressure on you. And it's like, especially like in this day and age where it's like, it's a lot of meeting like through social media or some of these dating apps, like,
Yeah.
the, like, whatever the apps, like the apps you got. So like the dating apps, you know, so like, it's not a lot of like, oh, I'm going out on this date because I'm really like, I know a lot about this person. It's like, oh, I thought he was cute, or she looked like she was a good person. Her bio said she would be interested in stuff I was interested in, or whatever the case may be. Or like she got nice pictures on her Instagram, so let me slide in her DMs. So it's like, for you to put as much pressure on like, oh, like I'm dating a marriage, so like everything is super serious. I feel like it just weigh you down. Because like, let's say if you go on a date with, like, let's say if you're a woman, you go on a date with 3 guys in a row and they all bad dates. You dating a marriage, so now it's like, oh my God, like I don't know how to pick a guy. Like I'm just like, it must be me. Like it's something. No, it's not. Like those 3 guys that slid in your DMs just wasn't the right guy. That don't mean nothing is wrong with you or even wrong with them. Like it just didn't work. And I feel like also when you date a marriage, like I feel like it make you put up with a lot more stuff than you should. Like my personal opinion, like what I tell all my single friends is, you shouldn't be putting up with too much. Like you shouldn't be too much bending early on. Like it shouldn't be like you compromising like your non-negotiables at all. Like if it's something that you're like, I'm set on this, and on the first couple of days they do the complete opposite and you don't like it, you don't owe them nothing. Like you just went on a date. Like, but when you date the marriage, it's like, oh, well, maybe I'll give her another try. Like she wasn't that bad, but I only didn't like these 2 things, but them might be the 2 most important things to you. That's enough to just say, let me just try something else.
Yeah.
Because then you get to the point where it's like, oh, well, I'm going to just keep letting that go. Now you've been together for a year or 2. It's like, oh, now if we break up, now I done wasted a year of my life when you could have only wasted 2 weeks and went on 2 dates and knew that person wasn't the right person.
Caused more harm in the long run than you would have if you would have just taken the time to date.
Right.
Which is date. What is the definition of date? Is it just it's just going out, right? Like
it's nothing like, I don't like man or woman. Like I don't see nothing wrong with going on a date. Like if you're single, you're not in a relationship, write that down. What is today?
It's literally pulling up date, like January 7th, 20. But you guys know it. Date, have fun. It doesn't have to be, and you can date multiple people. Like unless you, but be honest, okay? Well, I will say be upfront with that. But you can date and see what you like, what you like in one person, but they may not have your like agree with your non-negotiables. Move on, but now you know what you did like from that person, and just give and take. And same thing, you have to understand that it works both ways. So someone may do that to you. You have to be open with that. You may not have, You may not understand why, like you could have been head over heels with this person and thought, oh, they're the person.
Right.
But for them, you don't know their non-negotiables. You're just dating. So it's like you could have hit a red flag for them.
Right.
You have to be okay with that. And like I said, it's much easier said than done coming from our perspective. But I think that in the long run, you just have to have fun with it, date, enjoy the time, enjoy the process of it all.
For sure. And also, too, like, and I'm not saying when I said I should have been more specific, like, I'm not saying don't bend at all, like,
Yeah.
but that's where, like, Andrew was saying, like, the self-worth. So, like, you have to know, like, what are things that are non-negotiable, which is a non-negotiable, something that under no circumstance, like, this is what I need from a person for me to be happy in this relationship. And then you might have some things that you would like to happen, but not necessarily, like, okay, if they don't do this, like, okay, I might want them to have a great job, but, like, if they working towards something, like, I could work with that. Like, I'm saying, like, figure out what's for you, like, in your personal self, like, and that's where the self-work come in, knowing what you have to have in a person and what it's like, okay, if they working towards it like that, that's fine. Like, don't go, like, you're never going to find a perfect person. Like, I don't think I am, like...
I think I'm perfect for you.
Yeah, we'll go with that. You know what I mean? How you play? Like, yeah, that's pretty much the main part of it. Like,
so what do you guys think? Do you guys think you should date to marry, or you should just enjoy the process of dating? Let us know in the comments below. Hit us up on Instagram and let us know what your guys' thoughts are on that. You have anything else to touch on before we close out?
I think I'm good.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Beyond the Romance podcast. We really enjoy all the feedback and comments and just everything, all the messages. So keep them rolling and we'll be consistent. We'll keep trying out new times, I think, just to see what works best. Yeah.
Still always once a week though, but
yeah,
we just kind of play with that. And y'all let us know what y'all like best. Like, we taking all comments back and we working with y'all, so let us know.
And keep sending in those, topics. We are keeping a list and keeping a tab on all of them. So we're going to keep working through them and adding them as podcast episodes. So thank you guys again for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
Peace.